Educated Retirement with Jay Kaplan's fill-in, Daryl McCance, and my dear friend Jim Carvin. We are going to sit in for the world-famous Jay Kaplan, and he, right now, is just coming out of surgery. So all of you out there, you can say speedy recovery and well wishes for Jay Kaplan. He woke up this morning with 2 kidneys, and he will go to bed tonight with only 1 kidney. And in the second hour today, by the way, you will hear Jay Kaplan. He and I yesterday put a nice little interview together, and he is having fun of him, making fun of himself, as typical Jay Kaplan does. And you'll hear that on the second hour. But for now, you have Jim Carvin and Daryl McCance, and we're going to have fun. We are probably going to spend a few minutes here and there roasting our dear friend Jay Kaplan, and he's more fun than a barrel of monkeys. And he loves talking about movies and aliens and some of the great musicians over the many decades in this first segment of his show. So we will keep that tradition alive. And before we went on air, Jim Carvin and we were talking about this movie that had a profound impact on all of us by the name of Jaws. So I think Jay Kaplan would be really happy, Jim, that we are talking about a classic. And who has not been impacted by the movie Jaws? And you shared with me that you had just watched it within the last, when did you watch it?
I watched it a couple of weeks ago.
And
I forget which version it was, if it was 2 or 3 or what it was, Jaws.
Okay, now the original Jaws, when was the last time you watched that from start to finish, the original Jaws?
Oh, probably at least a couple of years ago.
Okay, well, I was just sharing that a buddy of mine had his boys that are teenage boys, and in the last week or two, they put that on in the background, and they just enjoyed it immensely. And I'll tell you, when it first came out, I was uneasy about getting in the bathtub. Okay, I was concerned that shark was going to come right through that little, drain hole there and get me. And isn't it amazing the impact that movie had on society?
Oh yeah.
You remember now did it put a little scare into you, Jim?
Yeah, it's not the kind of movie you want to watch just before you go to the beach.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that was just too much, Jaws. Now, do you remember who the actors were in that
No.
In that film?
I'm not much of a groupie when it comes to all the actors.
Okay, well, Sean, I know you're listening. Sean's our engineer today and the brains behind the outfit. Sean, do you remember who starred in the original movie Jaws?
I can't remember his name, darn it. I know who it is. I could see his face, but...
Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to go to a system called Google. And Google tells us that it was Roy Scheider, rather. He played Martin Brody, and then we had Richard Dreyfuss, Matt Hooper, and Robert Shaw played Quint. So for those that are driving in the car right now in bumper-to-bumper traffic, I don't want you looking up anything on your phones right now. We'll do that for you. So yeah, 1975 adventure thriller Jaws. And it was really something. I just, it just makes me nervous just thinking I could just see all the scenes in the movie, and when they finally got that shark up on that boat, and the license plate came out of him, and the spare tire came out of him, and it was just absolutely just too much. I mean, it's so far ahead of its time, and like you said, that really affected every time you went to the beach. And in my case, it put such a scare into me that I became a big fan of taking a shower. I took that, getting that bathtub as a kid. I was afraid that shark was going to get me. Now let's switch gears. For those that are in the bumper to bumper traffic right now, or hopefully home comfortable or at the office, there's another movie. And Jake Kaplan, I don't know, he likes his classics, but this is a movie that is recently out. And if you didn't see it, they didn't do a lot of advertising, but you can now pull it up on demand through your favorite movie provider, Netflix, Amazon Prime, or whomever, Apple Movies. But the name of the movie is Belfast. It is Belfast, and it is just fantastic. Absolutely classic, and it's appropriate for any age. And since this is the Educated Retirement Show with Jay Kaplan, filling in today is Jim Carvin and Daryl McCance, if the voices don't sound familiar. And we know Jay loves talking about movies, but I'm gonna switch it up here a little bit and talk about this new movie that just was in theaters not long ago, but now you can pull it up on demand, watch it from the comfort of your home, called Belfast. Absolutely amazing. Jim, you haven't seen it yet, correct?
I have not seen it yet.
Okay, well, when you watch this movie, it transports you back in time to the early 60s. And I don't want to ruin it, but it is just so well acted. And as I said, appropriate. If I really do believe that Bill McLeod, whose show airs every Saturday, who's a young 91 years old, I think if Bill McLeod put this movie on, Belfast, I think you would enjoy every minute of it, because the movie is class. It's first class, and there's no gimmicks in it. It is brilliantly written, and I could just go on and on. The film, the what do you call it? The cinematography, every little detail, and like I said, I don't want to give it away, but it's not. Even though it takes place in Ireland, and as things are kind of, there's some in the background, you got things percolating up, but don't steer clear of the movie. It is not. When I was originally brought to my attention to go see it, I didn't know quite what to expect, but it is. It's a combination of an action movie and Leave It to Beaver and Dennis the Menace and 5 or 6 other classics all put into one movie, and it's just really brilliant. With regard to kids, with regard to the grandparents, with regard to mom and dad going off to work, and it's just a classic movie. That's Belfast, and that just came out in 2021. So, Jim Carvin, what do you think Jay Kaplan's favorite subject is?
It would have to be movies or cigars, probably.
Cigars, movies, and
the reverse mortgages, of course.
That's the one. And he calls himself, and it's absolutely classic, Dr. HECM. Dr. HECM. So those that have heard him on the radio, if you see him, if you go to KMET and you see audio and video, the KMET TV, which you can, by the way, download on your Apple app or Google app at no charge. It is free. And you can see Jay, and then you'll see him with his, is it a stethoscope? Is that how you say it? Is that the one where it goes in your ears and it's got,
that's it.
The doctor uses that to hear your heart ticking and all that. So he's got a now I can't pronounce it again.
Stethoscope.
Thank you. He's got that, and then he's got his light. He's got the big mirror on his forehead with a light, and he is Dr. HECM. And for those that listen to Jay, and you go, well, Dr. HECM, the HECM is the Home Equity Conversion Mortgage for seniors only. The Home Equity Conversion Mortgage, and it's for seniors only, and it was originally created, the most popular, program to this day is the United States HUD's, FHA, which is Federal Housing Administration, HECM. And now some people will, over the years, products like that, they will call them reverse mortgages, but the actual real name is HECM, and it is a Federal Housing Administration insured product. It is insured by FHA, and FHA is obviously a division of HUD, the United States Housing and Urban Development, and that program is for seniors only. And we should really talk about it for a minute, Jim, because I know you're a big fan of the program, and options are the key. And when seniors are trying to figure things out, life is complicated in retirement. Do you, keep things as it is, or do you downsize, or, as expenses come along, and, everybody has issues, and they're looking at their income and expenses and all that. So the federal government came up with this program to give seniors an option, because a lot of seniors felt that the only option they had was to sell their home, and this gives them a second option. And so if they have a home that has a mortgage on it, or if the home is free and clear, they can look into the FHA reverse mortgage, and no better person to contact than Jay Kaplan. And he is very dedicated to that program and others. There's conventional products that look very similar, and they, some of those products go up to $6, $7, $8 million, believe it or not. So it's matured a lot over the decades. And in fact, in the second hour, as Jay always likes to do, he likes to talk about his favorite program, which is the HECM. And you'll hear Jay and I hitting some of the highlights of the program, and I kind of put him on the spot, try to get him to share his thoughts on best practices when he thinks it's really a great idea, based on conversations that he's had with financial planners and estate attorneys and top real estate professionals that are helping seniors find options, find solutions, and address those issues one by one. So that, you guessed it, Jim, his favorite topic is the reverse mortgage. But right behind it are the three you mentioned: cigars, old movies, and records. And he has a collection of over 9,000 records. So he is just too much. Can you imagine 9,000 titles? And he can talk artists, and in the last week or two, a knock on the door and a delivery. And I think it's a pristine, using modern technology to create this perfect album, vinyl, right? Vinyl. Mm-hmm. And I believe it was the Eagles. Sean, do you remember? Was it the Eagles that he was all excited about?
I did not get. He didn't mention that to me. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, I think it might have been an Eagles album that was reproduced, and you would have thought he won the lottery, and limited edition, and all this kind of thing. So, but as I said, those that just tuned in right now, Jim Carvin and Daryl McCance here, substituting in for Jay Kaplan on the Educated Retirement. Jay is just coming out of surgery today. He woke up with 2 kidneys, and he will be going to bed tonight with 1 kidney. So one of the kidneys is adios. For whatever reason, the doctors said that it was it had expired. And Jim, you would have laughed. On the second hour, he has like a cartoon cutout of 1 kidney with the boxing gloves, with a big smile on his face. And he tells everybody that's his good kidney. And then he had another cartoon cutout where the kidney had a thermometer in its mouth and like an ice pack on its head, and with that expression on its face of not feeling well.
It's time to fire that kidney.
So the one kidney is out the door. So Jim Carvin, you have a very deep background in real estate, and what say you about the seniors having two options instead of one option. When they come to that crossroad, of what's the best thing to do. What's your honest thoughts? Because you have worked with so many clients, and your specialty has been helping clients buy and sell real estate. So you've sat in that living room and hear their concerns. What say you about the U.S. HUD's idea of coming up with another solution?
It's always good to have another option, but I really like the reverse mortgage option because it's a great way to hang on to the house when unexpected things happen, when things go south. I've been doing real estate for 18 years now and went through all the short sale fiasco. And, a lot of people that lost their houses wouldn't have done it if they had reverse mortgages. At that time, reverse mortgages were being demonized because I think when they first came out, you know more about that than me, but when they first came out, they probably weren't so great. And then maybe they got revamped, and you hear more myths about them than anything. You could probably do a whole show on, dispelling myths of reverse mortgages, but it's so highly regulated now since the mortgage industry and the real estate industry went through that whole hiccup from 2008 to 2012. A lot of things got redone, and rightfully so. And it really, when I think of reverse mortgages, I just get an image of all the horror stories that went on back then and how they don't have to go on, at this point in time anymore, if you have the equity, the percentage of equity that you need.
Yep. No, I think that would be a great, and I'll share that with Jay. I think people in the industry, they know about the myths, but that doesn't matter. What matters is individuals that, like you said, that qualify, and it's so common where people think they don't qualify, and then they give Jay a call and they find out that they do. And for those that do qualify, it's so important to know exactly how the program works. And by the way, you can go, talk to Jay, and then you can also go to benefits.gov, which is the federal government, the same place you go to learn about Social Security and how it works, Medicare and how it works. You can go to benefits.gov and you can look up the FHA HECM. And now you know that Dr. HECM, which is Jay Kaplan himself. But no, you're right on the money. This before the U.S. HUD got involved, from the time U.S. HUD got involved in the 1980s until now, the program has been brilliantly managed and so forth. But you're absolutely right, Jim. Before U.S. HUD got involved, there were some things out there that were called reverse mortgages, and different financial entities had come up with different things, and they just were not. How do you say it? I wouldn't say that they're bad. I wouldn't say they're good. I would just say that some of them that were not really well thought out. So they were trying to figure things out, and it was kind of clunky. And that's when U.S. HUD came in and said, we're going to put this together, and we're going to have this benefit the seniors. And they have been so protective of the seniors. And now it's hard to believe that when we talk about the mid 80s, Jim, that's already soon 40 years ago, and what really puts me in a great mood. And that is, they will talk to seniors who got a reverse mortgage a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And they talk to many of them from coast to coast. And the feedback from the customers, the people have said, you know what? I had many different options. I chose this option. It is unbelievable the rating they get. I mean, it's 9 out of 10. It's A+. And this is the actual customers. So it's not, somebody with a big title. This is somebody that's actually, it's Bob and Sue Smith. And they said, you know what? We looked at all of our options, and we are so thankful that we chose this option, because take today, if somebody would sold their house 5-6 years ago and downsized and felt like they couldn't afford it, however, had they got the reverse mortgage, they'd still be in their original house, hopefully with real small property taxes because they'd lived there for some period of time.
Yes.
And can you imagine how much the homes have appreciated over the last 5 years? And had they not got the reverse mortgage, they would not have benefited from that appreciation. Because one of the myths with a reverse mortgage, a HECM, an FHA HECM, is that the bank owns your home. Okay, that is myth number one. Only the homeowner owns the home. Period. They're the only ones on title. Period. They can sell the house anytime they want. They can refinance it. They can do this, do that. They can pay the loan down, just like any other loan. And that's all it is. It's actually very boring. It's a loan that has one payment on it, and that payment's made when you sell the house. The end. Now, obviously, these are owner-occupied transactions, and you go through an education process, which is very unique to the industry. It requires that a counselor, which is a lot of fun, after the homeowners get off the phone with a third-party counselor, you're on and off the phone, goes very quick, and they also want to make sure that all the questions are answered, because this is one of those weird programs where the more you know about it, the more you like it, and the less you know about it, the less you like it. It's the weirdest thing. It's just been so interesting from my own perspective to see this program over the many years. And in the industry, we get the biggest kick out of seniors that initially say, "Yeah, I don't think I'm interested." And then at some point, a week later, a month later, a year later, how fast can we get it done? It's like, huh? And half these customers don't need it. They're excited because it's going to help them, keep the property in better condition and not touch their other investments and so forth. And then the other customers need it because there might be something medical that came up. They might decide that they don't want to move into, some different living arrangement. So they want to have this program available, in case they need it. If they don't need it, they don't need it, but they can get it set up as a line of credit. And if in 3 years from now, 5 years from now, next year, they decide that they want to hire, individuals to come and help them out. Because, Jim, I got to tell you, when people apply for a product called long-term care, which I'm not involved in that industry, I just hear from the customers, they either tell me, A, they were approved, or B, they were what?
Rejected.
Correct. And in either case, they get sticker shock because the price is what?
Too high.
There you go. And so when you look at the HECM, the FHA HECM, it's really interesting because it can be significantly less expensive. So when you talk about the long-term care and do you fund it yourself? Do you go through an insurance company? Do you use this FHA HECM to take care of that? Because long-term care is a serious matter, and people don't plan to fail; they just fail to plan. So that's another reason why everybody, you want to know it. You want to talk to somebody like Jay Kaplan, who on this station is known as Dr. HECM, which is hilarious since we're on the world famous KMET that had another doctor many decades ago. Do you remember that doctor's name by any chance?
Dr. Demento.
That's right. So we got Dr. Demento
On the Mighty Met.
On the Mighty Met back in the old days, and now, Sean, we got Dr. HECM on the KMET of 2022. So yeah, so it's good old fashioned fun. But no, that is important. And when people listen to the second hour today, and when Jay and I are talking, that's something that we didn't really talk about. So I'm glad we're talking about it in this first hour, because long-term care is important, and it's it needs to be budgeted for. And as seniors, since the name of the show is the Educated Retirement, so as the seniors are trying to find out what the best option is, going to give them the best value and cost them, have a great value with respect to the cost. Make sure to do the homework on the FHA HECM, as well as the insurance solution, as well as self-funding, as well as any other options that somebody might have for long-term care insurance, the FHA HECM. Now, what else, Jim? What do you think from a real estate standpoint as you're sitting down with folks? You mentioned the 2008 to 2012 nightmare, because it was a nightmare where millions of people lost their homes.
Mm-hmm.
And guess why they lost their homes, Jim?
They couldn't make the payments.
Correct. And guess what you do not have on a federally insured reverse mortgage through the FHA? You do not have a required monthly payment.
Exactly.
And
you
right
don't have
now,
to make any payments if you don't want to.
Right. You don't have to make a monthly payment. That's correct. And there's only one mandatory payment, and that is when you sell the house. If the house is worth $10 and you pull $2 out, using the FHA program, then the other $8 belongs to you. The end. Or if you set up your line of credit and you didn't use it, and years from now you sell your house for $10 and you have a balance of, $100 or zero or whatever on your line of credit, then you owe zero. So it is there to serve you. And Jay, if he is on the line with us, if he's on the show with us right now, Jim, he would jump in and tell you that there is no monthly required payment. However, as you just said, you can send money in. So if you want to send in $1, you want to send in $100, you want to work, you pull money out to put a new roof on your house, you use your line of credit on your reverse mortgage, which is the common term, but it's actually really called the FHA HECM. So that would be the solution to put the new roof on the house. Or, the holidays are coming, and, it's time to go buy presents for the grandkids. And next thing you know, great grandkids. A lot of seniors feel like they don't have that money. They really feel like, I just don't feel like I have the budget. And the problem with that is, it's a big deal. It's a quality of life issue. So when people feel like they cannot do things that are very important, next thing you know, they're in a slump.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, somebody that, if it's real important, that they're in a position to, take a trip or, buy presents for the grandkids. One customer, she comes to mind. She had two daughters, and one daughter had already bought a house and was doing great. And the other daughter was renting a place. And mom said, guess what? I'm doing a reverse mortgage on my own house, an FHA HECM, and I'm going to force you to take enough money for the down payment, and you're going to go buy a cute little place, and your mortgage payment is going to be less than what you're paying rent. And in a few years from now, you're going to have equity in this and that. Well, that was about 8-9 years ago when that transaction happened. Can you imagine how much equity? And the mom goes, you're not going to wait for me to pass on to get your inheritance. I'm going to give you a piece of it now. And she wasn't, a multi-bazillionaire, but rather than her free and clear home, so when she passed, all of a sudden that gets split 50-50 to the daughters. She said, no, I'm going to force one of my daughters to take the money now. And then, when she passes on, it'll still be 50-50, but the one daughter that already got, some money, that'll be, deducted from her half. So she got some of her money now. She get the other later, and then the other daughter will get all of her money later. But what's funny is the daughter that got the best deal is the one that got her inheritance early.
Brilliant.
Isn't it? It's just
Oh,
brilliant. And, and that's another thing where, again, not to be a broken record, but people don't plan to fail. They just fail to plan. And the mom, like you and I, she's seen what's happened over the decades. And she didn't want her daughter that did not have her own place to not have her own place, get settled, and that way you don't have to worry about your rent going up in the future. And, and that's obviously your area of expertise, Jim, that, once somebody tells you, hey, this is what I need, then you go and identify it and make it happen.
Right.
But there's nothing more helpful than a nice big down payment. So when mom gave the daughter the down payment, where did that money come from? That came from the HECM,
Right.
the home equity conversion mortgage. It's a line of credit. It's a line of credit, and it's non-recourse debt. And so there's all kinds of protections that the United States HUD, the department is FHA, the Federal Housing Administration, they put so much time, thought, energy, and as I said, they're so protective of the seniors, and it's balanced every year, so it's not some, what do you call it? It's not some box that we don't know how big the box is. We don't know what's in the box.
Right.
It's a mystery. It's quite the opposite. They have all that clearly organized, and the insurance fund is doing a brilliant job. And the other thing that, from a real estate standpoint, which I think you'll get a kick out of, is if the person that gets the FHA HECM loan, let's say that that they're deceased, and now the family members that are the new owners of the house, they can sell the house, obviously. They can move into the house. They can rent the house. They got all kinds of options. But what's nice is, if we go through, and you mentioned that nightmare that we all call 2008 and 2012.
Oh, yeah.
Let's say a house, drops by 90% in value. It drops by 90%, which we've not seen in Southern California, but there's lots of areas in this country that saw 80, 90% drops in value.
Absolutely.
What's so wonderful is the FHA has told the family members, if that house, if it goes from $1 million in value all the way down to 100,000, and let's say they had a $200,000 line of credit, right? Mom and dad, and they use that for their long-term care and this and that. The FHA tells them, you don't owe us 100,000. Okay. They will take not 200,000. You don't even owe 100,000. If they go out and appraise the property and it's dropped, in that example, from $1 million all the way down to 100,000, the family members can buy that at like 95,000. They'll actually discount that, because of escrow and title and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So, and that's a new thing. That was not always the case. That wasn't the case in the 80s. So this is just little things that they've done, because we always want to plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Right.
And as you said, hey, losing the house is unacceptable.
No, it really is. And people don't stop and think about what could go wrong when they're buying the house, because they're usually in one of the best moods that they've been in, because they can finally get a house.
Yep.
And, I don't sell mortgages, but I sell real estate. But I have to go over, loans with people a little bit to get them an idea of what is available depending on what they have and so forth. And so some of the questions that I get are, what percentage of a down payment do I need to qualify for a reverse mortgage? Is it a one-time and a lifetime deal where I get it one time, and then if I sell the house, I can't get it again? Or can I buy the house on a reverse mortgage, or do I have to buy the house first? Maybe you can touch on some of those.
You just hit three amazing questions, and then also your point was brilliant earlier, which is the improvements that have been made to this program, and you just hit a home run, because when the federal government U.S. HUD and FHA, when they first announced the program, if somebody wanted to get so let's say mom and dad sell their house for 500,000, and they want to go somewhere where it's less expensive to live, and they buy a house for 200,000. Okay. Well, the good news is they sold their original house for 500,000. They're going to buy a house for 200,000. In the past, they had to pay cash for the new house, and the very next day after they closed escrow, they could apply for the reverse mortgage. Okay. Now they don't have to do that. A number of years ago, they made the change where if they sell house A, or they don't have to sell a house, wherever the money comes from, okay, inheritance or, their 401k or wherever the money comes from for the down payment, they can buy a house on day one using the U.S. HUD's FHA HECM, which is really neat because a lot of people, for any number of reasons, they can say, you know what, I'm going to use, money from here, there, or wherever they're coming up with. The fact that they can go and put the normal required down and get the HECM on day one was a big win for seniors. Big win. And that's happened in modern times. So that was again, it's not a myth because originally if someone said, oh, if you're going to buy a house, you have to pay cash first. That's an example of something that used to be true, but it's no longer true. Okay. Now you hit another home run. When Jay Kaplan hears this, he's just going to be thrilled because a lot of people think that when they get their HECM loan, reverse mortgage, the FHA, the most popular program is the FHA HECM nationwide. When they get that, they think, okay, I'm done for the rest of my life. And what Jay Kaplan and those of us that have the opportunity to sit down face to face with the customers, we tell them, don't think like that. Every 3 years, you want to buy us a cup of coffee, or make us a cup of coffee, I should say, and sit at the kitchen table, and we'll look at the loan that you have versus the brand new FHA HECM, right? So let's say 3 years ago versus today. The FHA is very, very serious about always doing the right thing for the customer. So if the new program is better than the one that was available 3 years ago, interest rate, amount of line of credit, any number of things, then they will allow you to get a new one. If the one that you have is better than the ones that are currently available, they will not let you get a new one. So the answer is both. But every 3 years you should look, because we have seen with home values going up, the interest rates are fabulous, and your age also has an effect on the reverse mortgage. So it's all, it all factors in.
It's all made to help seniors, and it helps to also protect you from yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, it's it is those are two great questions, Jim, seriously. And that's a great example of those of us that are in the business. We need to continue to remind customers, and since we're on the educated retirement, a big part of what happens, I always look at reverse mortgages in three compartments. And I give the U.S. HUD a lot of credit for this, because they kind of set the stage. A senior cannot take advantage of this program without getting the education piece. They have to get that, and it's done through Jay Kaplan and a third-party counseling group, and it's fun, and I will tell you it's fun because it's, like I said, the more the seniors know about the product, the more they like it. The less they know about it, the less they like it. It's really interesting because it's the unknown, right? And then, as you said, there's so much bad information and misinformation out there that it's not even funny. but you hit two grand slam questions, and thanks for sharing that, Jim, because and I'm going to remind Jay, because we've been doing this so long that we assume that concerns that the clients had 3 years ago, 5, 7, 10, are no longer, coming up in conversations today. And it's refreshing to hear from you that they're still coming up today.
Oh,
and it doesn't surprise me, because this is what we do. So we kind of think that, but I talked to bank managers. I remember one bank manager, and she said, "Hey, Daryl, I love this program with one of the major banks. I won't say the name of the bank, but they got a lot of horses and horse and carriages in them." And she said that her mom and dad, she's got them in an FHA HECM loan, and they love it. And then she went on to say a couple of things, and I got a kick out of it because what she said that she liked about the program was true. And then she said, "Hey, are they ever going to make this change and that change?" And I said, "Guess what? They made that change 3 years ago."
Exactly.
So her parents had it 5 years ago. But you assume that the local bank branch manager knows everything about the stock market and the bond market and the real estate market and the lending market and options and futures and this and that. And, they don't. They just know if you have a question, talk to somebody like Jay Kaplan, who's a specialist on the reverse mortgages and specifically the FHA HECM, the most popular program of its kind in the country, and just such a well thought out program. It's just ridiculous. They've done such a great job, and there's been a couple of years where they budgeted, to make sure that they had the seniors covered, and they said, "You know what, we're going to throw some extra money in there." I mean, they have just been so proactive, and it's hard, when it's we see so many different programs where they're mismanaged, and sometimes they're available and sometimes they're not. This program has been available every single day for 3.5 decades. And it won't be long, it'll be 4 decades. And that also frustrates seniors. They'll hear one of their friends say, "Hey, did you hear that the city program or the county program or the state program or whatever?" And they call and they go, "Oh, there's no money left. Thanks for calling.
Right.
Call next year. Maybe if we're lucky." And again, kudos to the people behind this program for keeping it funded, ready, and available to serve the needs of our seniors nationwide that worked hard to buy the home. And they had individuals like you involved, Jim, when they bought it. Some of them put little down payments and worked hard to get their house paid off over the decades. And now it's there for them. So they got their house that's free and clear, or they don't owe very much. And if there's an emergency, long-term care, fix something, or they just want to take a Disney cruise, and that's going to, they take that cruise and they're going to be in such a great mood for the next year or 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever. But it's very important for people to keep their spirits up because folks, when you are in a great mood, you make great decisions.
And you live longer.
Yep. People.
Well, let me throw some other concerns at you real quick that I'm hearing. Right now, where our economy is changing, or at least it's getting ready to.
Right.
And that we've got inflation. The Fed has already said that they're looking at a 0.5 point for the first rate hike coming up. Not telling us exactly when. We've got inflation coming up in housing prices. Housing prices are going through the roof. And people are moving from one state to the next where there's a huge difference in property values. And so just the fact that people are making a move or perhaps downsizing could make it where it makes a whole lot of sense just to buy your property with a reverse mortgage. So can you touch on those concerns a little bit?
Absolutely. And the flip side of those concerns are great opportunities, because inflation is really tough when you go to fill up your gas tank, and when you go through the grocery line and you get your total for your groceries. No question. Those seniors that worked hard and bought a property and took the risk, they worked with somebody like you, and they could have taken low risk, but they took high risk, and they bought that house and they were nervous. You know how it is the first few years, making those payments, and it's nervous time. It's
right.
almost as bad as when I watched Jaws for the first time. And now
Worse.
yeah, right. Now they're in a position where that house is free and clear. If they need an extra 10,000 a year, an extra $1,000 a month, their legacy, the individuals that they leave the house to, they're going to be thrilled. And most of the kids that I talk to, when mom and dad are thinking about getting a reverse mortgage because they want one, not need one, they want one. The kids will tell them, "Are you kidding? You get that reverse mortgage, and if you got a opportunity to buy better insurance, use the money to buy better insurance. If you have an opportunity to buy better food, buy better food. If you have an opportunity to go and take a vacation, have a nice high quality of life in your retirement, 99% of the kids will tell the parents, do it." And by the way, when people live longer, that means oftentimes that home value's gone up. And guess who inherits more? Not less, more. The kids.
Absolutely.
So the kids are encouraging their parents to do this to get a higher quality of life. And the kids are going, "I don't care if I inherit, 5 cents or 10 cents or 3 cents. I want my parents who worked so hard to get this house and pay it down." And I equate it, Jim, to an IRA. You start out with an IRA and you put in $1, you get your first statement. Oh, now all it's got in there is $1. Okay. Well, many years later, it has a lot more than $1, right? So somebody's got a nice big fat balance in their IRA. Well, guess what? You can't take it to heaven with you. All right. So the federal government, in the case of IRAs, they require people. It's not optional. It's required minimum distribution at age 70 and a half. So at age 70 and a half, they have to start taking money out, which is kind of interesting, right? So it's almost kind of a similar mindset. If somebody is in retirement, and as you said, they're seeing inflation and all that, instead of panicking, they've got this wonderful asset sitting there. And if they decide to use that large account, just like the big IRA, they can't take the IRA to heaven with them, and they can't take the house to heaven with them. They want to make sure that IRA, they're using that to pay the bills every month. And same with the house. That's another big asset. If they need to do that to keep the house in better shape. And by the way, if they pull some money out of their house and they improve the house, right? So let's say they spend $10,000 on it. They may have increased the value by $25,000. So once again, the kids or the church or the neighbor or best friend, whoever inherits the house, even though the seniors use the FHA HECM to pull some funds out, they may end up inheriting more, not less, because the property's in better condition. And you're the expert on that. How important is it to property value? The condition of the property. Answer that. How important is that, Jim?
Oh, it's imperative.
Yeah. So, and people don't realize it. So by keeping the paint sharp, keeping the windows current, making sure the broken furnace is fixed, all of these things can have a huge impact on those people that inherit the home. And the reason I'm kind of harping on this is a lot of the seniors, they're so concerned about they're going to leave their home to their kids or to their best friend or their church or their neighbor or whoever. And sometimes they're so focused on leaving a free and clear property to somebody that the property actually gets deferred or they get deferred. They're not really taking as good a care of themselves as they could and should.
Right. Exactly.
And they're not taking as good a care of the home as they could and should. So these are just the realities, right? They're just the realities. But
That's
no,
life.
you really, Jay's going to be jealous. Okay, Jim, those questions that you just asked, really, they're absolutely brilliant. And it's important for seniors that are looking at inflation, not to panic. Look at all of their options.
Exactly.
And be very excited about the fact that their home value is going up, because you and I have been doing this for decades. We've seen them go up and we've seen them go down. Have we
Right.
not?
And guess what time it is?
Right. And it's a lot more fun. And by the way, folks, when people tell you they cannot go up anymore, if anybody tells you that your home value is going to go up, down, or stay the same, you don't want to get any more advice from that person, because I have seen it all. I've seen it where the properties doubled and everybody goes, oh, they're going to go down. Then I saw them double again and everybody said they're going to go down. And then they doubled again.
Oh,
Welcome to 1970 to 1980. In 10 years, property values did not double. They did not triple. They quadrupled. So tomorrow is a mystery. We don't know what's going to happen. But what we do know is you want to have options and you want to get things organized in advance.
Exactly.
Jim Carvin and I are big fans of trust. If you don't have a trust, you want to get a trust. And by the way, on that note, you want to call Baker Trust in Orange, California. They are really spoiling the seniors and putting beautiful trusts for under $600, including 2 visits with the attorney. Baker Trust, bakertrust.com.
And those are very painless appointments, by the way.
Correct. And so trusts are important. The FHA HECM is important. And Dr. HECM is important. Jay Kaplan, we're wishing you a quick and speedy recovery. And again, on the second hour, you are going to hear the world famous Jay Kaplan. And we recorded it yesterday so you could hear it today. And he's going to tell you about his kidneys, his good one and his bad one. And we cannot thank you enough for tuning in to the Educated Retirement, not with Jay Kaplan, but with Daryl McCance and James Carvin. Jim, thank you so much for your great questions.
My pleasure.
You made it easy, and you really you were on the customer side of it. You know, you were because those of us that are in the business, you know, we're always trying to get to it from the customer's perspective, and you hit some grand slam. By the way, my DRE number is 00947-871, and my NMLS number is 450569. Thanks for tuning in, and we will look forward to next Friday, where everybody finds out that Jay Kaplan had a speedy recovery from the surgery. Thank you.